Hi guys, it's steeljan here, and today I'm going to do another brew in a bag all grain video. And I haven't put all of my brews on videotape, but because they're basically the same-o. But today I'm going to be doing some more experiments, and I thought you might want to join in and see. The things I'm going to be doing different this time is that I'm going to be adding salts to reverse osmosis water for this all grain. I'm going to be doing a step mash so that I can extract more sugars from the grains. I'm going to talk a little further about how much water to put in the pot for brew in a bag. And I'm going to show a little bit more about the bag for brew in a bag. And I also made a yeast starter for this, which is from liquid yeast, which is something I hadn't done before. So let's get into the questions about brew in a bag. This is why I'm putting some more of this stuff in here. I continually get questions in my inbox asking me particulars on this brew in a bag stuff. So I'm no expert, but I've done quite a few of them now. So let's take a look at some things I want to show you. Well, one thing I'm asked a lot is how big does the bag need to be, and where did you get it? So this is my 10-gallon brew pot. Your brew pot should be able to fit all the way inside the bag, because you want to give those grains the maximum freedom that they can when they're in the water. I'll put you on macro. Here's my hand, and that's how fine the mesh is. Very fine. Now you could make one of these out of, now they call it VOILE fabric. It's some kind of curtain fabric at the fabric store. So if you sew a big bag, really good stitches, big enough that your brew pot fits in it, that's what you need. I bought it at Austin Homebrew Supply. I think it was about $6 or $7. I think it may be closer to $7. Okay, so let's get some water into this. And I'm going to be using just pretty near 8 gallons today. About that much. I'm going to bring this water up to 125 for my strike temperature so that I can dough in, and it should hit 122. Okay, the 122 is just there to pre-wet the grains, get them nice and wet, and it prepares them to give up their sugars to the max when you raise the temperature to the next step. Yeah, if you're using a Brickman thermometer, or probably any kind of an external thermometer, but I don't know that, you should have a heat shield. This is just a Pepsi can that I cut up. So it doesn't have to be fancy, just something to shield the direct heat from this thermometer. And it's not as pretty and green out here as it was before, huh? Yeah, we've had some massive heat waves here. I'm actually I've been up before dawn today getting ready for this, and it's now probably about 8 o'clock after setting up and beginning filming. So I'm still going to run into some 100-degree out here at the end of the boil, probably 100-degree heat, but hopefully not too much of it. I'm going to add my brewing salts. Now this water is reverse osmosis water, so I made up my own little bag of brewing salts, not to bring this to any specific water chemistry, but to bring it within norms. That's all I'm shooting for, is normal ranges. This is a copy of my water spreadsheet. I sent my reverse osmosis water off to Ward's Labs and got a report back. I entered the values of the minerals on the starting water line, and I did adjustments on the grams line for mash additions to bring all the recommended ranges from red to green down in the results, and keep my residual alkalinity to the right color for this beer. This beer will be 10.3, and it brings it up to 10 to 15 SRMs. So that's good. And I kept my chloride to sulfate ratio so that this beer would be balanced. And where I learned to do this was from Bobby from New Jersey's water videos, and I'll put a link below to the first of his series on the water videos. And the reason why you want to adjust this water if you're using reverse osmosis or distilled water, which has little to no minerals, is because the water needs those minerals for the grains so that their diastatic enzymes will convert the starches to sugars, alpha amylase and beta amylase. Anyway, back to the brew. I'm going to go ahead and put in my false bottom. I'm going to put it in the bottom. The reason why I'm using the false bottom in the pot is because I need to keep the mesh bag off the bottom of the pot if I'm going to be adding heat, which I am because I'm going to be bringing it up to the various levels. So yeah, if you're going to be adding heat to the pot, doing a brew in a bag, you have to get the bag off the bottom. Now, before my friend sent me that false bottom, I actually used a stainless steel colander turned upside down, and that worked just fine. And I used something else too at one point, but I can't remember what that was. Anyway, but this false bottom works really good. It looks to me like it's a cake rack, but what do I know? And there we go. There's the alarm. So we now have 125. So let's dough in. These grains have Tony's special double crush for brew in a bag. He does his brew in a bag as well. This. And I'll cover it with a blanket. To preserve the heat. And I'll come back in about 20 minutes. Well, I'll come back and stir it every 5 minutes. It'll be done in 20. Okay, so now our 20 minutes are up at 122. We're going to pull our blanket and we're going to start bringing this wort up to 140. So I need to light the burner. So now we're going to pull the mash up to 140 degrees Fahrenheit, 60 degrees centigrade, and to activate the beta amylase enzyme so that it'll pull out more maltose. If you just mashed at 140 degrees, it would pull out the maltose, but then it would be all fermentable sugars and it would make your beer very dry. But this is going to be a step mash, so we're going to let it sit at 140, and then we're going to bump it back up to, we're going to bump it up to 158. So right now we're just going to get it up to 140 and then lid it up, let it sit for 40 minutes, and stir it every 5 minutes. That's it. Okay, it's done with the 140, and we didn't lose any heat off that, which I'm really glad, but the sun's really hot right now. So now we're going to flame on again and bring it up to 150, which is 158, which is 70 degrees Celsius, and do the same thing. Okay, so our mash time is up here, and we're going to do two things now. One is I'm going to turn the propane back on, and we're going to start raising the temperature up towards 170. And this is my mash out. This is to finalize the extraction of the sugars from the grains. But before we do that, we're going to do both a pH test on the mash, and we're going to do an iodophore test to see if our starch conversion is complete. So let's do that first. Let's give it a pH test. Dunk my test strip into the wort. Throw the rest away. Looks like it's a little bit closer to 5.4, but we'll have to accept that at this point. We'll see what that does to the beer. Hard to say. Could be 5.2. Second thing I'm going to do now is take an iodophore test, an iodine test, to see if the starch conversion is complete. So I'm going to grab another teaspoon of wort, and I'm going to take a drop of iodine and plunk it in there. And if you can see, we don't have black. We don't have dark. So that indicates starch conversion complete. Yay! So now we're going to light the burner and we're going to start bringing the heat up towards 170. And then we're going to pull the bag. Propane flame. Okay then, we're at 170, we're like 168, 170. I'm going to pull this bag. Now I don't know if I can pull this bag by myself, so I do have a helper standing by in case I can't. But nobody I know wants to be on camera. Ow, ow. You want to pull it from one corner because it makes a little peak at the bottom. Forgot my oven mitt. You can slide the grate under, maybe I can pull it. Oh, I think this weighs about 30 something pounds maybe. Well, we still spilled, but not much. Now I'm going to lift it and put the colander under it. Yeah, I wouldn't want to go any farther than 12.5 pounds, and I probably won't go 12.5 pounds again, as it's just too much. So now I'm going to take this clean fermenter bucket and set this whole thing on top of the fermenter bucket to drain, and then we'll add that liquid, that wort, back to this pot. Okay, let's see if we can pull the false bottom out. And get rid of this. Now we can see how much wort we've got right now. We want it to be just over 6 gallons. So here's my stick. 5, 6, got 7. No, we've got 6.5. That's all right. So another thing I want to do is take a Brix reading before it even hits boiling. Have my refractometer here. Put some wort on the lens. Mine's an old refractometer. It works differently than other people's. You look through it up like this. 13.2 pre-boil. 13.2 pre-boil. Let's write that down.